Hello, RSC Solar. You are not mistaken. You are seeing the Pre-Jump podcast for the first time ever on, RSC Solar. Kind of a weird place to be. T-Sant, Mr. Rob. New place, new face, huh?
Mr. Rob?
He
I'm.
definitely said Rob. Already
You know what?
disrespecting it. That's crazy.
We'll start over.
Name's
Let me
right
go back
below
to the
me,
intro
man.
video. We'll come back in 5 minutes. We'll try again. Mr. T-Sant, Mr. Hum, my bad. How's it going, fellas?
It's going all right. How are you doing, Rob?
Good.
Man,
why do I see people talking about me in chat already? That's crazy.
Dude, you haven't been on the podcast in like forever, so of course they're
Been a
going to
little
talk
bit.
about T-Sant. Come on, man.
We've been busy. All right. Some things happened. There was a long line at the store to get some milk, but we're back. It might be expired, but we're good to go.
Hell yeah. I'm excited to
No.
do my first T-Sant podcast, personally.
Tux, for the love of God, no, we are not moving to Sundays normally. It's supposed to be Saturdays. I was at a wedding yesterday, and kind of kept me busy, not going to lie, and I don't think I can show up completely plastered, so I figured, maybe tomorrow. Let me sleep it off. Let me come back. Oh, man. But fellas, week 17, we are into the 4th month of the Pre-Jump podcast. We're going to be moving into our 2nd season here. T-Sant, I can't believe when we popped together in a Discord chat, you, me, Thog, and Hannon, I didn't think we were going to make it this far. 4 months.
Honestly, yeah, I gave it like 2 weeks tops. Blown away my expectations, let me tell you.
Fair enough. Croc, I see you. Thank you for putting in the work there to help me out to get this going. But that's enough, I think, of intro. I think of us just kind of hanging out, talking to Matt Smack.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the first actual segment. We'll keep our new viewers going. Salary cap, fitting a team. T-Sant, I know this was a big one for you, seeing the serious suggestions about the Prem teams and what they're struggling for this season. Why don't you fill in our viewers a little bit about what's going on?
Well, I'm not the most experienced person. Granted, I'm in Rival, not a Prem player, but a lot of people talk about always how the salary cap works in Prem, right? You get a tier max player, you're kind of stuck with 2 tier min players. It's almost kind of impossible to build a team with that kind of tier max player. And I won't say names because I don't know if they'd want me putting it out there on the podcast. But some people talked about, the higher tier players, the tier max Prem players, they don't want to stick around because, they're playing with people that they don't find up to their level. And they're losing games because they feel like it's just them in 1v3s because they can only get tier min players. A lot of talk about reworking the cap space for Prem. Didn't happen this season. Maybe next season.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of right. I know what I saw somebody posted. It needed to be like a tier max, 2 tier mins, and then they were hoping for a top of 3rd round. But that's a lot, In every other tier, you can get a 1st and a 2nd on the same team, or even 2 firsts and 2 fifths.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Most
gonna
other
say,
tiers, you can almost guaranteed you get 2 firsts. You might need to get 1 tier min player, but you could still get like a mid tier player along with those 2 higher tier players. Just Prem, with how it's worked, not the case.
So what actually used to be how Premier Cap was calculated from somebody that was on numbers at the time, I don't believe that it's changed. It has now, it will be changed for next season. There was a lot of talk this offseason between GMs and numbers. But how it used to be is the most expensive player plus the most expensive player in the 3rd round and 2 tier mins, and that was set as the tier cap. And there was a lot of discussion about this between GMs that obviously a lot of players in the league don't know about, and I want to use the time to actually talk about that. And I think Shamu brought up a really good point. He is an extremely smart GM from a numbers standpoint. He always puts in a ton of numbers reports. If you get moved up, chances are Shamu has 50% chance of being the one to reported you. That guy, I kid you not, puts in like 200 reports a season. It's insane. But he was talking about what happened last season with the Forest Premier team. And that had something happen that had never happened in Premier before, where you had a high tier min player or a high tier max player performing really well, obviously, and then a tier min player absolutely breaking the bank and getting above a 50 SBV, which in Premier is extremely hard to do. That player was static. Static broke the meta in Premier, essentially. And because of that, Numbers had a hard time adjusting players at the higher end of Premier, and so a lot of those upper round players are actually being overvalued because of Static, because he didn't increase his rank at all, but he dropped an insane performance in SPV, so the Numbers formula is moving him up rank, obviously because he performed very well, but it's also moving up all those players who are above him in rank that didn't actually perform as well in RSC by saying, well, they're a higher rank, so they should be better as well. And so it's causing a lot of top-end players, like you were saying, T-Sant, to be overvalued in Premier and not get on the teams that they want to, which was actually reflected, unfortunately, in the way that the draft handled.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
I'm just coming out with the beautiful, beautiful statements about the. He's a lot smarter than me. Let me tell you.
No, probably not.
I mean, maybe. Hey, viewers, are we coming through good for you? Everybody coming through good, audio-wise? Kind of can't listen to it myself here as the producer, so if you would let me know, that'd be great.
We probably sound good, you know. What's an RSC stream with audio's not? At least a little bit scuffed.
Sweet. You know,
yeah.
well, it wouldn't be first time ever if I just, went the first 10 minutes into the podcast with nobody being able to hear me or anything. It would only be like the third, but, yeah, who's counting?
So, I was going to say, we're talking about restructuring, Prem cap or whatever. I forget who it was. I was in a VC with somebody. They were talking about a good way to keep higher end players, like raise the cap, let there be these really good teams competing against each other to possibly keep more higher end players coming into the league. Players that can come here, almost as an alternative of like a six-mans, if you will. High competition. You're getting, your actual team practicing, especially for some of these players that, hey, maybe they want to make a run at semi-pro play, pro play, you never know. But the way it is right now, I don't see that as a possibility. Raising the cap would definitely get that moved in the right direction, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's where we're kind of in a weird middle ground spot, right? Where we can either go ahead and say, hey, let's just make it free range, let's get rid of the cap, we'll allow any players to compete regardless of skill level, and you can build your best three people in Prem. And that's, it's kind of hard to do considering everybody else is formulated around the tier cap system, but at least that would give our Prem players and a lot of higher end players that have left, like, hey, go ahead, field the best people you can, be the best team you can, and we might raise the ceiling on the RSC skill level for the top end. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It would make it real tough to go between Master and Prem, you know what I mean? Well, I guess unless you're going to go strictly based upon SBV, and then if you get moved from Master to Prem, like, holy heck, I hope you can make that leap, because, you're going to be... You're going to go from, hey, by the way, you're a GC3 scraper, but now you're playing against the likes of CRL players. Get bent.
And one thing... Oh, go ahead, T-Sant.
No, you got it, home. You got it.
I was just going to say one thing with that, like you were saying, boss, is that I know some of those players that have been promoted from Master into Elite that just... From Master into Premier, sorry. Who honestly just end up leaving the league because they don't feel like they can compete in Premier. Like Ghosty, for example, almost quit the league. I know he's a really influential player that a lot of people know about. He almost quit the league because of that whole situation where he had a great season in Master, moved up and sat on the bench for the entire season in Prem just because he didn't feel like he could break into a starting lineup.
I get it. I mean, I remember seeing that actually in Serious Suggestions one week where somebody said point blank, like, maybe we should start holding people back from that league. Maybe we should go, hey, you had an 80 SBV, but, we like you. We don't want to see you leave. So let's just kind of hang you back. You'll stay in Master for another season.
I mean, this is, on the kind of the extreme of that, but you have more higher end players. It keeps those players that realistically shouldn't be in Prem in Master.
Yep.
I get it too. It also depends how many like super high end players do you have. If you only have so many, yeah, that could end up breaking the tier anyways, no matter what you do. So it's a thin rope. Personally, I think raising the cap would, in the long term, be more beneficial for the league. Even if in the short term it might break Prem for a season or two. I think that would be a necessary sacrifice for the long term health.
I think so as
I don't know.
well.
I don't know if you could see that. Love you, Chulane. Thank you for helping me out here with the audio.
We do love Chulane. We always love
100%.
Chulane.
Gotta rep the homies. Speaking of Prem, you know who I don't see in our chat right now? I don't see Reeg. Man's been with us like every week.
Well, it's because we're on RSC Solar, not our.
You know, that's probably what it is. That's probably what it is.
Someone give him a ping. Someone tell him to hop in here. Give us his thoughts.
You know, Irish, I'm glad you're actually bringing that up because the Sprocket rating in MLE, I love the fact that in the off season you can just play scrims. Numbers doesn't have to really worry about it. You know, people can just you have to play X amount of scrims per month, and then you get your Sprocket rating, and then you go from there. But I really do genuinely hate the fact that they're like, you know what, T-Saint, you've been popping off all season. You've been killing it. Guess what? Now you just got promoted to vet midway through the season because you've been doing too good.
Yeah, that's not the move. Kind of takes away the point of having an actual season. Fighting for playoffs, like.
I know people who've had that happen. They were having a great season. They were on the cusp of the cap going between Champions and Master League, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, you scored too many goals last week. Now you're in Master. Now you're at the lowest end for the next tier, and you might not even be on your team anymore because they have to still deal with the cap situation. So
yeah, that's crazy. Actually,
it's wild. It is what it is.
I mean, granted, I might have been hoping that happened to the rival Hammerheads last season, but you know,
that's Red Steel goes from rival to elite.
Their entire team.
True. Speaking of cap situations, I was actually talking with a couple of the AMI teams. I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to name teams, but there's potential to move around some extremely low cap players in AMI to make things work so that a team can fit 2 first-rounders and a third-rounder. And while I totally understand, they're shooting for a win, the bare minimum player, the cheapest player they're talking about in the trade, I realistically don't think is going to be as bad as his cap says he is. And when it comes out, I'll be super happy to talk about it and name names and be like, oh yeah, it's this team, this player, and oh yeah, here it is. But I think the viability of the salary cap, I don't want to get rid of salary cap for every other tier, I guess is where I'm getting at, long-winded way. Maybe just Prem.
I don't even think we should get rid of it, but definitely raise it. I think at the very least. I think getting rid of it could maybe go. Then you run into a whole bunch of other problems.
Well, it's 72.90, right? It's 72.90, right? Yeah, it's 72.90 for Prem. Yeah, somebody recommended like 73.50 would be like the bare minimum that it should be at to fit the first rounder, top of third, and then 2 mins. But
yeah, because the max is 1950 and the min is 1760.
Yeah.
So there's a delta of less than 200.
What do you guys think? With it being 72.90, what do you guys think is a realistic number that it should be shifted to?
Oh, you're dropping that on me way too quickly. I gotta bring out the calculator for that. Look at prices and all that.
So
Hum will probably know. Hum's a smart guy.
There's been some talk about it in GM Hub as well, and there's 2 formulas that were suggested to fix this. Currently, it's a tier max plus a top of the third round and 2 tier mins, right? So it's a max, median, and 2 mins.
Mm-hmm.
If it becomes a min, 2 medians, and a max, so a tier max, 2 third rounders, and a tier min, then the cap would be 73.50. But if it becomes a min, median, and a base max, which is what the unadjusted best player in Premier's MMR would be, then that raises it all the way up to 73.75, which I think is way too high.
I was gonna
And
say,
so I would personally go with the 73.50 and maybe even just do a percentage of that median, because to me 73.50 seems a little bit too high still. Like you could fit, I haven't done the math, but you could fit some pretty insane players together just with looking how numbers has placed everybody this season.
you could. It only shifts it by, what was it, 60? Is that what we said?
Mm-hmm.
72.90 to 73.50. It's about 60 points. I mean, that's really not that big of a shift from where it's currently
That's the difference in Premier first round.
from third to first.
No, from the best second rounder to the best first rounder, the difference is 70 MMR.
Okay.
Really? Jeez.
Yes.
And that's only,
then
what is it,
from
12
the-
players?
Yeah, 12 players, 10 players.
But that's because they have a hard cap, right? Like,
yeah. So there's a
Yeah.
effective MMR, which is what you're capped at. It's a lot more prevalent in amateur, but there's an effective MMR you get capped at, and then your base MMR, which is what your scraper tells you it is. And sometimes those will be different. Like in amateur, if you have bronze,
Ooh.
but signs up for the league, they'll get pulled up.
Rob ate too many onions. His internet's starting to get away from him. No, I want to point this out. We're not going any further until I say this. Rob was
Thank God.
eating, or not.
Bro, this is not Rob, sir. This is not Rob. I know they're both really cute. They both are really handsome gentlemen, but...
Are you talking about my onion?
Okay,
I'm just-
okay, I'll
I'm
just
just gonna-
ask it now.
I'm just gonna
chat.
regain.
Is
here
it
for a
socially
second.
acceptable to eat raw onion slices? Is that an
They are
okay thing to
good.
do?
They
Oh,
taste
man.
good.
You know,
You're going to see a bunch of people say yes. I guarantee it.
please no, please for the love of God. Thank you,
Canadian
Canadian
has said no.
things. Thank
Okay,
you.
are we really taking Canadians' opinion?
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
that's a good point.
And
I'll have to
Hom,
agree with him here, though.
I swear, man, I better not make that mistake all podcast. This better not be the longest hour and a half of my life.
We got a maybe and we have a yes and two hard
There we
no's.
What's
go.
wrong with people?
It's good.
Oh,
I'm
God.
telling you. Don't
These
knock
are
it
some
till you try it.
outlandish opinions.
100%, dude. But if 60 or 70 MMR is that big of a swing, I mean, that's tough because I feel like maybe half of that, maybe 35. Raise it 35 or 40. So you're not moving up somebody by a whole tier, but you're at least saying like, hey, you can go from a, top of third to maybe a. Or no, you said. What, no,
I'm
you said
saying
top
full
of
send.
first.
I'm saying full send.
You say
Raise it.
all 60.
Full send. Full send.
Okay,
Raise
now.
it.
All the way to 73.75? Or to 73.50?
We'll start 73.50, maybe 75.
Geez, 73.75. Let me
All
just
the way.
try and do
Let's see what happens. You'll never know until you do it.
That's what, 85 points? I mean, 85 points in any tier is nuts.
True. Maybe not that much. We'll start 73.50.
You're doing some math there.
Oh yeah,
Scared me.
I'm trying to do some math here. Sorry.
No, you're good, man.
Give me
Oh,
about
man.
2 more minutes, and I'll have a nice little stat for you.
Not
I mean,
my
no, my
GM. That's
Opinions
crazy.
are never wrong in my personal opinion. Yeah, it's a pretty good personal opinion. Sounds like a podcaster if I've ever heard one.
What's a podcast?
Oh, Canadian thing says, I'll have you know my opinions are never wrong in my personal opinion. Podcaster style.
I'm
That's-
seeing a
that's what I
lot
like to
more.
see.
I'm seeing a lot more no's in chat than yeses.
I'm very glad we see
So-
more no's.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm waiting for Hum to like flip his camera around. He's got like a chalkboard that he's just, doing some hard,
No,
hard
I
calc
can't
with.
quite do it. But right now, you could fit former Premier Champion Fusion Bleach, former Premier Champion Green Sleeves. Both of those are also former AGMs. The best player in RSC, according to their base MMR, One Tap Steven, and Ghosty, all on the team. You could fit
And
two former
that's
champions.
right now.
No, that's with the 73-75.
Oh,
Yeah, that
okay.
might be a little excessive.
It might be a little soon.
I
I'd
think
say
I think
I think
73-30
50 though.
is a good number.
Give me 50. Give me 50. Come on.
I didn't build our premier team this season, but I know that our GM had a very hard time deciding what to do because our plan was either going to be draft a bunch of second and third rounders or get that one high tier and a bunch of low tier players. And
Well,
we
no,
ended
they
up
said-
going with the split approach.
Somebody said something along the lines of like 3 or 4 of the most expensive players in Prem went in the 5th round, or something like that. Which
The most expensive player, or Jim John, who's also a tier max, went
Uh-huh.
last.
went
Yeah.
last.
Oh yeah,
You
he
gotta-
went. Wait, he went dead last. I knew he didn't get picked up early.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. We gotta figure.
He was the
this out.
last pick, I believe.
If the highest
Without
player,
keepers.
like a tier max player, is going dead last, and it's not because they're extremely toxic as a person, there needs to be something, like just something.
Yeah. I mean, granted, this might be a little extreme for Premier, but I'm of the opinion every tier should be able to fit a first rounder and a second rounder comfortably on their team.
A 1, 2, a 4, and a 5. I think is a
Like,
yeah.
yeah. I
Well,
think if you can't do a
Because then you
first
can
and
do a
second
1, 2,
rounder,
3,
then
6. If you can do a 1 to 2, a 4 and a 5, then you can do a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 6.
Yeah.
Or a 1 and 2, a 2 and a 6.
again, I get it. It's a little different for Prem because of how Prem is set up. It's different than pretty much every other tier, but I think, good competition brings better competition.
I think
In the
you're
long
right,
run, I
honestly.
believe that'll be more healthy for the league, top to bottom.
Yeah.
I
Fair
think
enough.
you start in Prem, and eventually, if you get more better players in there, it'll trickle down. So each tier players are just pretty much always going to be in the tier they belong in.
I do want to talk about while we're kind of getting on about some of these really high end players. Let's talk about season 18. Way too early MVP selections here. Now, I see those hands rubbing together. I want to get us kicked off here. Raccoon for me. Staying in vet is such a surprise. I mean, I talked about it with Rob last week, him being at like a 63, 64 SPP. He has the ability to kill it in whatever tier he's in. He was the lunar and overall MVP of Rival in season 16. To some mild controversy, as T-Sat and I both really paid attention to at the time.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not involved.
But I'm just saying, I think, realistically speaking, Raccoon's going to be a good potential candidate for MVP this season, especially with, him growing as a player consistently, having such a great season in vet last season, and now this season, from what I've heard, he's kind of going to be the man that they're building the team around. So, we'll see how that goes. What do you guys think?
Sticking in vet, I'll give you a name. And they destroyed a rival all of last season. I'm honestly surprised they are at the price they are. Lil Panda. Killed it in rival, as we know. Their teammate Red Steel jumped all the way up to elite. I thought Lil Panda would be a little more expensive based on the season they had.
What's
But-
Lil Panda at this season?
1465. I was like looking at it like maybe 10 minutes ago. Give me one sec. I'll give you that exact
That's
number.
like tier mid.
Lil Panda, yeah, 1465. Up with the Makos now, and that team could be good. Teammate Hybrid Paragon joining them up in vet. Jay still on that team, champion from a couple years ago. That could be a really good team. And again, we saw what Lil Panda did in Rival. Clearly was a step above the tier. I think being definitely underpriced. I think Lil Panda's going to kill it in vet. And will likely get moved right up to elite at season's end.
You think Lil Panda's going to be MVP quality, though?
I
There's a
think
lot
so,
of
yeah.
really good players in vet this season.
Here's the thing, right? The hardest thing to do in Rocket League is be consistent. And the Hammerheads were so consistent. All of them, not just one player. They were all so very consistent. If
I
you
don't
can be
know.
consistent night in and night out, that puts you already at an advantage above those around you.
I know they won it, but like it seemed anytime they were in like a really high pressure situation, like on stream or whatnot, they kind of missed a step here or there. They played Lacuna last season. They went 2-2. Then I believe in the quarterfinals and the semis, they both kind of barely squeaked by. So,
And then what happened in the finals that were on stream?
I'm just saying, there's a chance, man.
The highest pressure game of the whole season. What did they do?
He's got you there, boss.
He
What did they
does
do?
got me there.
They brought out the brooms. And they brought
Yes,
them out
they did.
quickly.
Yeah.
All right, Hum. I know you're on your fill-in
Well,
arc. I want to know who you got over
yes.
there.
So I have a former player of mine last season who I have absolutely no idea how numbers has let him dominate Elite again this
God,
season.
is it Forza?
Yeah, it is Forza. You know exactly where I'm going with this, boss.
Yeah.
That man dropped an 80 SPV across 50 games last season. And I think, I don't want to say this because you can't always change the past, but had we signed him at the beginning of the season, I don't think that we would be talking about the rival team of the Hammerheads breaking records. I think that Elite team would have broken records. Forza had an absolutely monster season once he joined us. We got him in a trade from the Bear Den, where he's back to this season with a team completely built around him. I've talked with Vicky. She's doing really great things. And I just expect to see him go back to the finals. That's where he led my team last season. He's going to do the exact same thing this season. He was putting up MVP caliber week in, week out. And I think it's going to have another monster season this season.
Do you recall what Forza's price last season was?
He
They're at 1635 now.
was about 1620.
80 SPV only got a 15 MMR jump?
Yep. I saw that he was still elite
Wow.
in the final tier list this season. And I'm really hoping to get him, but Vicky beat me to it. He's back where he was for a while. Has a lot of friends there. Hopefully he'll do well.
All right. Well, if we're gonna stick an elite,
Hold on.
I gotta throw the name out
there. I gotta say one thing about Forza. This was something the actual Rob talked about last week because he was like, "Man, I don't understand how he didn't get promoted." Rob was actually like, "This is nuts." Sorry,
Coming from
T-San.
somebody who was in elite last season.
Okay.
Dude,
I
I
hope.
was too. I'm just as shocked.
Look, I hope he's not in here to hear me say nice things about him, but I'll give you a elite MVP pick. Snack time.
Oh,
Last
don't
season-
inflate that man's ego. Come on now.
I know. Look, last season he dropped what? A 70 SP. Not last season. 2 seasons ago, he dropped 70 SPV in elite. He didn't really play in the league last season. He was still playing regular. It's not like he stopped playing. Perm FA I think he had like almost an 80 SPV in Perm FA. It was only over 12 games, but still. And he's back in elite. I thought for sure he was going to go up to master. Back in elite. He's got a good team around him, good vibes, and Snack Time gets the vote buff just because everyone loves him.
I'm not gonna negate him being an MVP candidate because he definitely is. I mean, he is a solid.
if he gets
player.
on the ballot, he could win.
Oh,
If
yeah.
he's on the ballot,
Oh, yeah.
he very well could win.
As soon as he's on the ballot, I'm sorry. If he's on the ballot, it is a dub. I'm just saying, like, come on, man. It's so hard to get bumped up when you're perm FA. I mean, they look at your small sample size and they go, "Yeah,
the
you know, he only
season before.
played 20."
The season before, he had a 70 SPV. Killed it all season long.
Hey, man, I get.
Might have
ya.
choked
I'm
in the
just saying.
playoffs. Might have choked, but you know, that's not here nor
Well,
there. That's not.
Snack time turns into stink time in the playoffs, but that is after
Ooh.
MVP voting.
That is after.
It's after the MVP vote goes through.
Now,
It's not after it gets announced.
let's talk about a much harder tier because it's easy to talk about elite when you got players that are so consistently present in the tier. Let's talk about a tier that seems to have heavy turnover every single season. Let's talk about AMI. This is a tier with now 12 teams.
Hold on, let me get my
lot of-
dartboard out. All right, got my pick.
It really is. I mean, nobody would have predicted, who was it last season? Was it Raichu or was it Your Girl Is My Side Hoe?
Right, you.
It was Raichu. Yeah, popped off. I think starting in week 8, week 9, killed it. Went through the playoffs. They steamrolled everybody they faced. Got to the chip. Took the chip. It's so hard to predict, and I'm still gonna throw it in there. Just for a player I've been kind of watching a lot these last few weeks. Not that I'm coaching him or anything. Not yet, at least. But Mr. Sticks from the bakery. Absolutely mechanical to boot. Looks like Raichu did at the end of the season, and it's not even week 1 yet. I mean, I'm looking at my watch, and I don't even see the first date. From what I've seen, he looks incredible. Like, he's probably going to be at least an all-star if he can just, be a good team player.
I would agree with that.
There's 120 players. Just pick a name.
I have got 2 players. One of them is a player who hopefully maybe might be watching. I don't know. I talked about her last time I was on the stream. But shout out Direwolf, the GM herself, playing an amateur this season. I remember when she was in Prospect a couple seasons ago. But she has now found her true calling. And I think is going to MVP and double promo right back to Prospect.
I don't know. I played her against her in Boomer Puck mode, and man.
When you start the conversation with, I played against them in Boomer Puck mode, and I think it's just invalidated, boss. I'm sorry.
Boomer Puck hoops. I should have clarified. There is the
Oh
hoops.
my god, that's worse.
Look, I know she normally watches the podcast. I just want to make sure she knows that I'm still king of that.
Gotcha.
All right, do I have to pick an amateur pick? It will not be.
You have to pick one at least. And I do want to point out, Amy has a lot of people this season. If I remember right when I looked at it, they have more. Yeah, their free agent to team amount is higher than Master. It's a little lower than Prem, but I mean, like, they have so many available FAs. It's almost half of the league. It's nuts.
My Amy knowledge, not the best, but we'll go with a name that sounds great, just rolls right off the tongue. Yerp02, representing the Shadows. Shout out my new franchise. I like Yerp for MVP. Gonna win it. Best name in the tier. That's all I got for you guys. I'm sorry.
You know what's really
That's a good
sad is
name.
T-Sit picking based off of name has him about as accurate as both of us because it really doesn't matter. I mean, the tier caps at Diamond 2, and anybody can literally decide, you know what, I'm going to grind, I'm going to peak, I'm going to play with my team and do the best that I can, and go from like Diamond 2 to C1, C2 in a season. So, I mean, T-Sit, if you win it, there is a chance. There is actually a chance you might get it off that guess there.
Well, I will also let you know a little secret. That is how some GMs draft, based off coolest name. When you get into those late 5th, 6th rounds where you just have not done enough scouting because you got 7 tiers and only 3 people to scout, sometimes you just got to pick based off name.
Hey, you just gotta send it, right? Send it.
Oh,
Oh,
100%.
just like they
Worked
do
out
for the
before.
Premier Cap. Just full send it. Had to bring it back. I'm sorry.
So, I guess the next thing is, what tier are we going into next? We've talked a little bit about Elite, about Vet, about Amy. There's still 6 to go. I know we're not going to get through all of them, but we can at least maybe get through 1, maybe 2 more.
Well, I think we've talked about both of your guys' tiers. Let's talk about my tier, Charlie.
All right.
I'll start it off with a little bit of homerism. First off, my MVP pick for this season is Wanna Buy Bubbles. I mean, the man is just absolutely popping off. He's a tier max cap this season. Doesn't really matter. The second I saw him play, I was guy. He's going to be all-star MVP caliber player at the end of the season. I think he's one of the better players in the tier, obviously reflected. And just going into his stats from last season. Sorry, let me pull these up. Last season, he had a 70 SPV in 40 games. He's getting a lot better. I've made sure to bring back a player that he played with a lot last season, Shinx, who promoted up from Prospect. and then also got Dondo and Chrono elevated around him and hopped on AGM myself. And I think with those 3 players around him, there isn't anything that could stop him from getting MVP.
I never put 2 and 2 together. I didn't. Dondo told me he went to the Garden. I completely forgot you were AGMing for the Garden. I'm just like,
Yeah.
All right. When you said my boy's name, I'm like, all right.
I'm really happy to have
see how
Dondo.
this-
Also, by the way, I told Bubbles to watch the podcast, so if he's here, hey Bubbles, that was your shout out. And Dondo let me know that even though he's friends with the guy who started the podcast, he got in a shout out. Shout out Dondo, you're a really good friend of Boz Vidal.
Your mic cut out there really bad. I do want to point out Hum was saying, big shout out from Hum to Dondo, even though I've been big friends with him for a long time and I don't really shout him out that often.
Yeah, what he said.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. You know, 2 people, I gotta say, you're probably gonna be at least All-Star, maybe MVP voting. The fact that Free is still in Chally is criminal. I mean, Free should probably not be in Chally. Free should probably be in Rival, to be fair. I mean, man killed it last season with the Storm. They had an incredible season. Went
all the way to finals.
Yeah, like how he didn't get promo. I mean, I understand he's tier max, but like they probably should have moved him to Rival. They just said, "Hey man, guess what? Next season's on us. Just take a free win." But like he's got to be up there, and then Blood Raven is one of those guys where you can build around him with any solid team. He just meshes well with everybody. I heard he's a great chem guy. He plays really good rotations, and he makes every striker around him play that much better. He's probably going to end up somewhere on the All-Star ballot as well, just from sheer, good scoring, and then sheer assists are going to be coming his way.
Oh, really quickly, Boz. Pick again. Free has been promoted to Rival.
Did he get promoted?
Ooh.
Did he get promoted?
Yeah. He got promoted
Okay.
within franchise.
Okay,
And
well,
shout
that's
out
fair.
to, who was it? Lost for pointing that out.
Thank you. I would have actually been kind of shook if they kept that man at Chally. I mean, to be fair, I would have really been shook. But I think if his franchise didn't already promote him, my repick is also going to be a tier max who, if he's not a goat on the field, he's a goat in the viewer box. We've got Mr. Chulane himself over there. Just putting that, just sending it out there, man. Look, man, I've seen you play before. I know you're killing it.
Really quickly, I do want to point out, just from a stats perspective, Chulane might be the best player in Challenger. He had he had almost a 50 SPV in Rival last season across 10 games played. And then also had a 8.2 SPV in Veteran across 26 games played. And now is playing in Challenger.
That is a turn.
That is a very big turn of events. So Chulane, good luck. I am glad I don't have to play you.
All right, T-Sam, from your rightful tier, who you picking?
From my rightful tier. We talking Rival now?
No, I'm
The one
talking
tier-
Chally, buddy.
Oh, still Chally? Okay, so I don't know anything about this tier either. I'm just kidding. I know a little bit. I'm gonna go with, Rob's not here. Somebody's got to be a homer. I'm gonna go with one of my boys from the Chally team, Mr. Mango. The boys have been hyping him up. He's got the mechs, got the speed, has the crisp, clean name to go with it all. We're expecting big things of the boys over here at the Shadows and Rival, and Mango's going to be a big part of that. That is my MVP pick.
So
Ben
really
boys, I
quickly-
know you're in chat. I know you're seeing. I know you're hearing me. Mango's winning MVP, and if not Mango, might give it to Levi. Levi was playing a Rival last season. Didn't do too bad. Honestly, surprised he went back down to Challenger, to be honest.
It's absolutely
If Levi
tearing it up
gets
in
going,
twos.
that it might be hard to stop him in Chally. I really don't think he belongs in that tier.
All right,
Yeah,
T-
so Mango. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say Mango also already put in an all-star winning or all-star performance in a winning Challenger season two seasons ago, 3 seasons ago.
I think it was 2. if memory serves correct. My memory's not
Yeah.
that good though.
I think it was
Trust me on that.
either season 15 or season 16, something like that. But yeah, he's a great guy.
So yeah, the
Love
precedent's
having him on
there.
my franchise.
The precedent is there.
All right. T-Sant. Actually, no, You know, I'm making you pick next.
Oh,
Last tier of the night. I've seen a couple
I just
people.
picked this one.
Oh, I picked 2. T-Sant, what have you? How many have you picked so far?
I don't like any.
All right, T-Sant. You're picking last tier of the night. I know a few people have been asking for some different tiers here. But we got to keep it moving along. We only got time for one more. What tier are you going with? And then get us started off with your pick.
As he goes off camera.
He's got to
let's
go
give
check
him a
his
minute.
notes. He's got to check his secretary. What do your secretary say?
We booked him. He was a little
Sorry
bit
about
busy
that.
for
Sorry
right
about
now.
that. I'm here. Bro, you guys got to choose.
Oh, I have to. You know what? You know what? Fine. I've seen a few people calling for this tier. We're gonna go with Tendy. We're gonna talk about the kind of an intermediate tier. Still has a lot of turnovers. Still has a lot of players that are kind of either passing through from Miami or really about to shoot up the prospect, potentially Chally with how good they've been playing. Contender, who can I talk about without giving away too much? I've already met with my Tendy team. I already started a little bit of coaching on the side.
Whoa. Is that a former player coaching? Is there some collusion going on here?
What?
The head of the media committee in a full-on scandal right here on the RSC stream.
you
That is
believe it?
crazy.
Dude, I was actually helping scout for the team too because they were like, "Hey, we just need an extra set of hands."
Hey, somebody
got
get the admins involved.
I legitimately got a
wild.
message from an admin not even like 10 minutes after I left the chat, and he goes, "Hey, I heard you were just chilling in the Tendy chat tryout. What was going on?" And I'm like, "Scouting for the bakery. My bad."
This is wild collusion happening right here. Monty, Blister, somebody step in, please.
This
This is ridiculous.
That's wild. No, if I'm gonna talk about anybody in Tendy, God, there's a lot of people. Canadian recently got promoted to prospect. That was a tough one. I'm gonna homer for my last team. We're gonna talk about Raichu a little bit because I really didn't think he should have been stuck in Tendy. I could have swore he was gonna get double promoted from Amy to prospect, and the fact that he's in Tendy and he was playing solid in combines and in scrims and tryouts, so he's probably gonna be up there. He's probably gonna keep growing. He's a dog, dude. He wants to win every time. He is like, hey, when are we hitting the replays? When we get in the coaching? When we get in the scrims? When we get in the games in? You gotta take Raichu with every ounce of your being. He's gonna probably be an all-star, maybe MVP, for sure.
I have a question before I make my pick, and if the answer is yes, then that's my pick. Is Tech 4 still in Tendy?
No. Thank God.
Well, back to the drawing board.
Dude, if they kept that man in Tendy, I would have probably rioted.
I don't
I'm
know
not
if he
gonna
got
lie.
moved up or not.
If they kept him in Tendy, I would legitimately riot. For sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go next. I'm gonna need to do a little bit more
Alright.
research here.
All right. Somebody that I have got is Biscuit Murder. Honestly, a player that I was really looking at to pick up for my contender team last season, and they came through, had a pretty solid season last season in contender, dropping a 60 SPV across 38 games in the Sovereign. Overall, I was pretty decently impressed with what I saw from them across the course of last season, and I think at their price, with the team they've got this season, there's no telling how.
Fair enough. T-Sant, I know you know absolutely
Back to
nobody
you,
in
buddy.
Tendy. Let's see it. Who you dartboarding this round for?
You want an MVP pick? I'll give you an MVP pick.
Alrighty.
The man himself. He goes by many names. He's a GM right now. He just rebranded a whole franchise. 4 letters. His name is Quan.
You think
Oh,
Quan's gonna go full on MVP mode?
this is a meme vote.
You know, my
Man
contract
said, "Let
states
me
I have to homer, otherwise I'm gonna get kicked.
That's wild.
Here, let me revise T Santa's answer with Mystic Max, who's a prospect demote from last season. Also, somebody else I was going to talk about. They had a 25 SPV in prospect last season, which was good enough to get them demoted. I don't know the last time Quan even gave him. So good luck to him getting it.
Hey, it's all about the vibes. It is all about the vibes. You have good vibes, you play well, you win. It's that simple.
Yeah,
Hey, fair point. Fair point. You know, I'm not contractually obligated to talk about anybody here. I'm not homering for nobody, but I am gonna say point blank. I feel like people do kind of sleep on Quan a little bit. I feel like realistically, he probably could be that guy if he just chose to be that guy. And
All right, look. If not Quan though, if not Quan for contender MVP, I'll probably go with Enkreds.
I'm just gonna go ahead and turn off T-Sant's camera and mic for the rest of the stream here.
Yeah, bye-bye.
That.
He's done.
There we go. All right, so we're gonna continue this stream without T-Sant here. Love everybody.
That's crazy.
I'm kidding. We're bringing him back. Oh god. Skim. I feel like I feel like I should have talked to you about this, because when I saw that was a big shock. I know, like, for the last 3 seasons you've been talking about being stranded on an island in Elite, but I am actually glad to see you moved back to vet, man. It's gonna be so nice to watch you just eat that tier.
I don't know. Based on what I've seen of Skim and Six Mans, you know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, Rival might be more his speed.
Oh wow. God.
I'm just kidding, Skim. I love you. All-Star coming soon. Go Syndicate.
Well, hopefully I'll
That-
see Skim down in Challenge.
Jeez, y'all are preying on like the ultimate downfall here.
Hey, if Tulane can do it, so can Skim.
That's wild. Let's move on to a little bit of a short break here before we get back into the hard-hitting questions. Replacing marbles. I know somebody was talking about replacing marbles as a whole with the whole lottery draft system, and I know people have talked about replacing it with other randomized events, but you know what, somebody recommended this before, and I thought it was a great idea. I'm going to keep bringing it up every single time. We have a giant game of either Among Us or DuckDuckGo, and we stream it. We watch the GMs go at it all the way through, and, you know, like, it would be so great to be casting it out. T-Sen and could be watching. We could be like, Armo comes around the corner. He is the executioner. Oh, my God. He drops Quan, and that's going to move him up to the 9th pick. If he keeps this up, he might be drafting in the top 5.
Games. The Hunger Games.
Dude, I'm telling you, it would be solid. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah. So I remember when, I think it was season 14, maybe season 13, one of my first seasons AGMing for He Who Shall Not Be Named. I was watching and getting really excited for marbles, and there were no marbles that season. We had a spinny wheel with the same probabilities, and that was honestly very anticlimactic, not super fun. And I am going to go with the radical idea of completely removing marbles. Yes, it's fun. Yes, we get to stream, but what's it good for? Take your placement from last season in that tier, and that's where you place in the current season. If there are team changes, there's always a chance to randomize those team spots. Like, for example, if
you're not saying like the best franchise would draft last, you're saying the best franchise would draft first.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That would really incentivize, though, solid performance of the season. But
that would
holy cow.
that would completely incentivize GMs actually doing well. Like right now in RSC, the entire incentive to do well is a trophy next to your name, and occasionally for GM you get GM or franchise of the season. With this, it actually affects your current draft stock. And there'd be no like purposely throwing a tier so that you don't have good draft picks there. You would have to always try and be competitive. And obviously, like, if you don't do well, how our snake draft system works, like the 32nd pick in the first round is the very first pick in the second round. And so it still balances out and makes it a lot more fair, but it makes you really want to build good teams to have those first round incentives, I think.
I could get behind that.
Ben boys, let me cook, please.
I don't know, man. I don't know what you're cooking, but I don't think I want to try.
Tulane is saying that it would get dicey with the future pick trades, but I love that possibility. Or Tulane talked to Frieder about trades, but the idea of trading with a certain franchise and being like, no, I don't want your second round pick. That's next season because I know it's going to be a really low pick because you're going to do really well. Or saying, wait, I really do want your second round pick because I think your team in this tier is going to do terrible.
Bro,
have
I think
a really
you're
high
be
second
garbage.
pick
Give me
now.
your picks, please.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I might say that to people, but
I mean, so look, I think the three of us are in agreement though that marbles maybe we could look at least changing something.
I mean, maybe
It is-
they
it
recommended
is
changing
fun,
the
but
map.
something
I know
new.
people are working on it.
Yeah,
I just-
me
whatever
personally, I just think so. I'm not as radical as some. I don't think we should go best team gets the first pick. I think it's a little too crazy. It's an interesting idea, rewarding the best team because usually the best teams, the players are going to go up anyways. But I don't know if I'm that radical. I do think, however, the worst teams in our tier will get 4 marbles compared to 2. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I just think if we're gonna do a quote lottery, let's make it an actual lottery. The worst team gets maybe 20 marbles, top team still gets 2, the middle teams get 6, 8, something like that. Actually, if a team was bad last season, give them an actual chance to get a decent pick in the draft.
If we were like any other league, where we actually retain players in our tiers, I could see it. But looking at the Hammerheads, they finished first. They had, I think, all 3 of their main starters got promoted out.
All
of the
4.
tier.
all 4 of their
All
players.
4 went up.
All 4
went up.
They have to rebuild. Give them the number 1 pick in rival. They killed it. And they shouldn't be
See?
punished so heavily.
It makes sense.
This actually makes a little.
It
too
makes
Are they
sense.
Are they getting punished though? Are they getting punished? They just had one of the greatest seasons this league has ever seen.
Well,
Are they getting
because
punished?
because now this next season they're guaranteed to be a mediocre, hopefully a good team. But
Are
more
they,
likely
though?
they're going to be mid.
It's not like it's a guaranteed if you have a good season, you're guaranteed to have a low pick, but
Yeah, so this season, it was either Challenger or Prospect. The 50-50 team won, and this season they got the first overall pick. I believe it was Challenger. And then they traded it back.
fair.
So the Breadsticks won Challenger last season, and they got the first overall pick, even with a very low chance. So it could still happen. And I think situations like that, where rewarding GMs that do extremely well, could be something that is positive. And obviously for the GMs that step down or players that lose tiers, for a franchise that has amateur one season and doesn't have amateur the next, wherever they place, that could be a slot, and then we could just do a randomization for whatever team, or the admins would have randomization for whatever new franchise gets that pick. But I think that could be a fun way to just promote longevity within tiers. As somebody who really loves building prospect teams, the idea of having prospect team finished in the top 4 for 4 consecutive seasons, and I had to trade up to get those very high picks.
yeah.
Just having that would have been a little bit nicer.
So, let me ask you, somebody who's a lot more plugged in with the GMs than I am,
Mhm.
is GMs tanking tiers an actual thing that happens?
No,
Okay.
there's no value in tanking tiers.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Because everything's
I wouldn't
lottery
think
based.
so. Yeah, I wouldn't
mean,
think so. 'Cause
There's
how
probably been a
unpredictable
GM that's
everything is
done it.
really.
I mean, there
I
are.
can think of a
I
GM
will
who might
say. Okay, I know who you're thinking about.
I mean, I'm sure there are GMs that maybe don't
Oh,
give as
man.
much love to one team as they do to another, like maybe trading a first round pick in a tier to get in a
Oh,
different tier. But
there are
I
there
wouldn't say
are
like
things that you
I
have to
wouldn't
do
guess
with
they're
that.
GMs that are actually purposely tanking teams.
Yeah, so what Tulane just said is really accurate in the chat. Like there are some times where you talk with the players and they are perfectly fine with not doing well. They just like playing together with the team and having a fun time with all of each other
I
in
mean,
scrims
isn't
and
that what the
matches.
league's all about?
And that
At
is.
the end of the
And I
day,
mean, even if
that's
they're
what
not
it's
winning,
about.
yeah.
If you're having a good time, even if the team's not good, like changing that team up is kind of, the complete opposite of what a community league stands for.
Look, guys,
Yeah.
I think you guys both bring up a fair point, but this is only supposed to be a little break segment. We're not supposed to be. We've got to put a pin in
main
this.
segment, boss. This should have been a main segment.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't think we'd have this going forever.
I feel like we could keep going.
I should have dropped the truth a little bit earlier. I don't think y'all were ready for that.
I
no,
definitely
that was.
wasn't.
I
I wasn't
really like
prepared
your
for that at
segment.
all.
I really like your idea, but that will have us moving into season 18 prediction. Let's talk about that team that would probably be getting rewarded. Let's talk about that potential franchise of the season. And, it doesn't happen a lot. I'm not going to name this as my pick, but I definitely think Array with 50/50 Pizzeria always stands a chance. I like the culture that they've been putting in. They won it for a reason, and I think there is a chance she gets it again.
I will say I have to go with the obvious choice of the Garden. We currently have 4 GMs last season that were all in the top 10. If that doesn't spell a winning mentality, I don't know what is. We have myself, Delfino, Rob, and obviously Nick. All 4 of us were GMs in the top 10 of franchise standings last season. Rob and Nick did a little bit better than myself, and Delfino was a great GM himself. But I think that's honestly my pick with the experience that we have. Culture, all of our teams are honestly having a ton of fun. We started off the first preseason night great. I think our franchise record. Oh, let me look really quickly. Not every team reported, but the teams that did reported that we went 11-1. So that's pretty good for the first franchise night.
Okay.
I think that's going to continue on throughout the rest of the season.
All right, Mr. T-Sant. Franchise of the season. Season 18. Who are
Give
you
me
picking?
the Shadows. Come on now. Was I gonna
God.
say anything else? Was I gonna say anything else? We got a home for the new franchise, but I do think there's some truth to that. I think we're gonna have several extremely good teams in our franchise. One elite, gonna be led by my elite MVP pick, Mr. Snack Time. I think we're going to have a banger Chally team with multiple possible MVP picks. I think our rival team, which we have picked up 2 first-time players for the league, they are crazy. They're friends. The chemistry amongst the 2 of them is unreal. I think we're going to have a great year in rival. I think our veteran team, which, I keep going. I think literally every single one of our teams has a legitimate chance to be at the top of their tier. And that's not even me just being a homer. Looking at the names we have, seeing the teams play, seeing the players play in person. I truly believe Shadows Quan could win, GM of the year, franchise of the year.
I think Quan is really great at building those tight-knit communities. He did it really well over in twos in the Birdcage. Infamously won franchise of the season somehow. It is a popularity contest, so he's done it before. I will say he won it in a season where another franchise had 4 championships and 6 teams in finals.
I think we're going to have multiple teams in the finals this year. And I'm going to go with at least 3-4 teams that are going to be top half in
At least
their
third
playoff
before?
runs. At least 2-3 teams that are going to be 2-3, like 3-4 teams that are going to be top 4 in their conference for playoff runs. So that's my pick, no question about it.
Are you talking like the automatic clinches from the division?
No, I just mean straight record-wise. I do not
Okay.
recognize the automatic clinch from the division. Throwback
You
to my
don't
argument on that a
recognize
long
that?
time ago. I do not recognize that. I mean straight record-wise. I think we'll have
Gotcha.
3 to 4 top 4 teams in their respective conferences.
Fair enough.
You know, I did mention 50/50 Pizzeria. I think they're a decent pick, but realistically, I've got 5 reasons why the franchise I'm about to name is going to be the franchise of the season. I mean, 100%. We're going to talk about the crazy, incredible vibes guys who are great at the game in their tiers. We're going to talk about Krieger, who was with the Syndicate last season. We're going to mention Cowtooth, absolute stud muffin. Never heard anybody take a cut note so well. Man, is an absolute vibe to be around. We can talk about, I don't know, we could talk about incredible AGMs between Thunder-esque and Canadian. We could talk about potentially the best GM in the league. We could talk about Mr. Armo himself. We're going to talk about the franchise of the season. We're going to talk about the bakery coming in clutch. We're going to get it this season. I'm telling you now, we're already running 6-man games on off nights every single night. Super active server. I'm gonna homer once. It's gonna be now. We're getting the bakery.
At some point, someone's gonna catch on. This is just a homer podcast.
Maybe
not
this is
tonight,
my
but
first
at some
time.
point.
Look.
At
This is
some
my
point,
first
someone's
time.
gonna catch on.
I get the homer once per season. This is it. It's gonna be the bakery.
I'm a manager. It's in my contract.
I do. I mean, you know, obviously everybody likes to say their own franchise is going to win. I mean, especially when you're involved and you're putting in 6-man and effort and whatnot. I'm still saying it. I like hanging out with Thunder. I like hanging out with the GM who I can't name anymore contractually. But you know, I like the team. I like the franchise.
There's some crazy.
Yeah,
things
I
being
do
said
think
right
the
now.
bakery is working on some good things over there. I've heard a lot of good things from former players of Armo and Thunder as well. That they're really great. Excited to see what you guys cook up over there.
Hope so. I mean, maybe next week I'll have a clip of me dunking on Thunder again, but I'll get it figured out. Love the guy.
Keep an eye on the outro to see me dunking on you.
Ooh. Ooh.
I really do hate that you got that on me in the outro clip. But speaking of outro, we're at about 1:07. We're getting to the final little segments here. I didn't actually put anything for the end for the title card, so we'll just pop back up the main pre-jump week 17 here. What do you mean when did I dunk on you first time? I've got that recorded on metal, buddy. Almost every Rocket League game I play, I record that on metal. Absolutely stellar 50 split, right? Like beam it over you. That wasn't Armo. Thunder, I got you at least once. Come on now.
Yeah,
where's my
Ben Boys is
metal
asking
clips?
for proof. Let's see it.
Where's my
Yeah,
metal
clips or it didn't happen.
I'll put it in the pre-jump server as soon as we get done with this.
Sounds good.
And a long time. All right, fellas, you got anything else you want to talk about here before we kind of wrap things up for week 17?
I do just really want to quickly plug our Discord server. I dropped the invite link into the RSC chat. If you want to see Boz dunking on Thunder, allegedly.
I wonder how it's going to work since we're integrating more with RSC, if we're going to keep the server up or for this, or if we're going to start doing more things through RSC channels. Like, we gotta talk to Monty and the admins a little bit more, because like I know we're going to be doing more RSC related stuff, you know, as we've always been, but we're going to do it more through RSC channels. I just don't know what it's going to look like. I would say just kind of keep your eyes peeled. We'll let people know.
Probably let you know. Maybe we'll think about it.
Maybe. We like to do things last minute.
No sunglasses for me today, Thunder. Next time I'm on, maybe whenever that may be. If we get into the Sunday podcast, then maybe. Saturday nights it's tough. Just my work doesn't like the podcast.
And see, like, I wouldn't mind Sundays. I just know that we do everything else on Sundays for RSC.
Exactly.
Like the draft, the lottery, the everything else. So, we'll see. We'll keep everybody posted. But
I'll try to get in here a little more often, guys. It's been great to be back. Hopefully I'll be back again sooner than this previous break.
Yeah, it's
For
good to see you
sure.
guys all.
The bills don't pay themselves.
For everybody who did tune in for our first ever broadcast through RSC Solar, you can expect this going forward. More than likely, we'll be streaming next week on Saturday, 9 p.m. Standard Time. Should have a post out hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday once we figure out what the subject matter is going to be. I do believe this will be the last week of preseason, right, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, and then it's season 18. I wonder who's gonna be casting that opening night match on Stream Boss.
I don't know. I think there's this really handsome guy named T-Sant who's going to be casting. I asked who he
Oh
wanted to
yeah?
cast with, and he said the Scrub Boss. So I think it's going to be T-Sant and Boss casting the opening
on,
weekend
guys.
with Taslian producing. So
You're making me feel left out here.
hey, we've already said, dude, join media committee. Come cast with us. There's nothing stopping you.
You'll see my application soon. Don't worry.
All right.
You'll
I
have
look
to go
forward
through
to
my
it.
training first, You'll have to go through me first. I'll see if you're up to speed.
Sweet.
Awesome.
But all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the pre-jump week 17. Look forward to seeing you again, guys, next week. Y'all take it easy.
Peace out, guys.
Have a good one.